Hey guys, it's me, and it's election day in America. Right now, it is about noon. So because I have no school, I'm just getting up, and I thought I'd say a few things about election day. Um, First of all, this year, pretty much every year, well, yeah, every year there's an election. There's this campaign going around, it's just saying vote. And this video is about that campaign. I'm not saying that you shouldn't vote. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. It's just that don't vote unless you want to vote. Don't vote unless you have an opinion and you want it heard. Because we don't need your uneducated, uh, unopinionated. We don't need those ballots in our boxes. We don't need that filler just there. Because if you have to be told to vote, if you have to, if you need P Diddy to what's P Diddy, right? To vote or die. If you don't have the internal drive, if you haven't been paying attention to debates, if you don't know which candidate stands for what, if you don't know their positions, if you only pay attention to the commercials that you see, each candidate accusing the other one of being a Nazi, don't vote. Seriously, we as a country, and we as the people who can't vote, me, my generation, people under 18 right now, we don't need you screwing up the country just because you don't know who's who and you just voted because someone told you to vote. Um, See, voting is part of a democracy. It's part of America. And it's part of what makes America good, and great, and a country worth living in. But part of voting, part of being part of a democracy, is voting, is being educated when you vote. It's it's knowing what you're voting for, why you're voting for them. Just voting isn't the same as being part of a democracy. You have to know. You have to be educated when you vote. Otherwise, it's really not worth voting. Otherwise, don't do it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I mean, some people just don't have an opinion on politics. Some people couldn't care less who wins. Some people feel unaffected by it, and I mean, I think everyone should feel affected by politics, by who's in office and what positions they're taking on certain things. But if you don't, if you don't feel that way right now, don't vote. Just don't. Stay home. Enjoy your day off if you have one, and if not, go to work. Pay attention to that. Make money. If that's more important to you, that's fine. I'm not trying to say you're a bad person for not voting. You're a bad person for voting if you don't feel like voting, is what I'm trying to say. Unless you have the glare, my glasses are really distracting. But unless you're already going to vote, and you know which candidate you're going to vote for, and you know why you're voting for that candidate, and it's a good reason. It's because you agree with him on gay marriage or something. If, well, not gay marriage particularly. I mean, I'm for gay marriage. I'm pro it, pro that. I'm very liberal. And if you agree with those wedge issues, go ahead and vote for that candidate. But just because they say something on a commercial doesn't mean that they necessarily are for or against something that you might be for or against. You really have to pay attention, and if you haven't been paying attention, don't vote. If you're totally oblivious to these things, don't vote. Don't. Because America doesn't need you to vote. We need you to do other things. We need you to work and stimulate the economy. But if you haven't been paying attention to the elections, and if you're just going to vote today without any prior knowledge, don't vote. And while I'm talking about this, I think I might as well hit on another issue that I have with the democratic process, and that is of our two-party system. Like, if you're a Democrat, if you consider yourself a Democrat, or a Republican. But you haven't been paying into the elections, and you don't know, and you're going to vote just because one candidate is a Democrat, one candidate is a Republican. I sincerely suggest reading up on both candidates, because just because one candidate is for something and the other isn't, doesn't, or one candidate is for a party that you're for and the other is against it, doesn't mean that you'll necessarily agree with them on plenty of issues. I mean, I know plenty of people who are, they prefer a Republican candidate, but they would prefer a more liberal stance on government, and they'd vote for the conservative because of all those wedge issues, and then complain because the conservative isn't enacting out liberal policies of economy or something like that. So don't vote strictly Democrat or Republicans. Vote, you know. Another thing, wedge issues aren't important. Okay, I mean, wedge issues should not decide a candidate for you. If both candidates, okay, here's this. If both candidates are pro, no, really should have wrote something down. Um, Basically, if a candidate has an economic plan that you don't agree with, if you think this economic plan, it sucks, right? But he's pro-abortion and you're pro-abortion, I seriously suggest considering what's more important to you, um, especially if they're someone like John McCain and they agree with the opposite of their party on a lot of wedge issues, but still are with their party on a lot of core issues. Really look into that, okay? Basically, the point of this video is don't be uneducated when you vote. Be sure you know your candidate, know why you're voting for them, what you agree with on the candidate, know what you disagree with both your candidate and the other candidate. Just don't vote if you don't want to vote. If you don't want to vote, don't. It's not an obligation. Okay, that's another thing that I feel a lot of people misunderstand. Voting is not an obligation. It's of an American. It's not. You shouldn't feel obligated to vote. It's a choice. Either you want to vote or you don't want to vote. And either way, um, America gets a new governor, or president, or mayor, or whatever. Um, but if you don't vote, you know, then you really don't have a right to say that something didn't work out. You don't have a right to complain. Likewise, if you vote but you're uneducated and just pick the first candidate on the ballot, you still don't have a right because you weren't paying attention. Meanwhile, me, even though I can't vote, I have a right to complain because you are ruining America for me. So, I guess that's all. I've been ranting. I haven't been really focused. I hope you kind of got the point of this video. If not, I'll try to summarize it now. Unless you've been paying attention, unless you feel that you are educated on your candidate, unless you know who you're going to vote for, and and you know why you're voting for them, don't vote unless you fulfill those requirements. And this is a self thing. Like, I'm not telling you, at least I'm trying not to tell you why you should feel, a candidate should win. I'm just saying, unless you know, you know, within yourself why a candidate should win, and you've thought about it, and you've thought, oh, I agree with this candidate, I think they should win. Unless you feel that way, don't vote, because you're probably going to make I'm not going to say a wrong choice, because there's no right or wrong. Voting is, of course, an opinion. But if you're going to make an uneducated choice, then don't vote, because America doesn't need that. We still need you. We just don't necessarily need you to vote. And I think that in itself is its own kind of mini rant. I'm just going to stop, upload this. Hopefully you got what I'm saying. Hopefully you have an opinion on what I'm saying. Agree or disagree. I'm not running for anything right now. I don't care about your voting for me right now. I don't care if you like or dislike me. I mean, I kind of do a little, because otherwise I wouldn't be making videos on YouTube, unless I wanted to elicit some sort of response. yeah, I'm just gonna end this video here before I start talking about my theories on aliens on Saturn or some bullshit like that. I don't really have any on Saturn per se, but yeah, I'm just gonna shut up now. End the video, upload it on YouTube. Post your responses, whatever they might be.